Dying is probably the worst thing you can do in a match. You should avoid deaths where possible. But there are times when your death, believe it or not, is actually advantageous for your team. Identifying these times is one of the small things that add up to making you a better player. I will be presenting this in two parts: unacceptable deaths and then the acceptable ones. 0 for 1 deaths in the laning phase are inexcusable. If you were ganked once, you may have learnt your lesson, but now there is a lane that is absent, which puts you at a further XP disadvantage. A tip from my solo laning guide can apply to all lanes. If you cannot win the lane, do not try to force yourself on the enemy. No means no. Simply poke, soak, and stay alive. Okay. Of course, on the other side of the spectrum, often what can happen is the enemy may overextend because they think they're winning by sieging your structures and getting barely anything done. Ping for a rotation to punish these players when there is available time to do so. Dying due to face checking or general lack of map awareness. This may seem a bit vague and slightly ties into the first point, but let's say there's an objective up, you are simply attempting to rotate to another lane and you get jumped on. And just because this happens, this doesn't mean you're a terrible player. Everyone has made this mistake, even the best of us. And we still do. Most deaths are bad, but a single death in the late game can put your team at a huge disadvantage. They will know they can push areas that would normally be dangerous for a long period of time due to the death timers. You should contest objectives or areas of importance as a group, or at least send the appropriate members to split soak, counter push, or even on some maps like Dragonshire or Brax's Holdout, take the alternate capture point. Remember, the appropriate member, not your Kalthas who's gonna walk alone into, the whole team. Let's get on to bad teamfight deaths. Often deaths in a teamfight may just be your own fault, and in all honesty, that's the only thing you should look out for, your own mistakes. If you're playing Greymane and you've dived deep into the backline out of range of your team, whilst knowing that Uther is holding onto his E-stun and his Divine Storm, which causes you to get Ruffle stomped into oblivion, which causes your teammates to fall into a pit of confusion and despair, and then everyone starts arguing with each other about whose fault it really was, and why there's an Abathur sitting behind a fort AFK, and a Nova who decides to become a pseudo specialist and split pushes the enemy. Wait, where am I going with this? Alright, okay. Basically, if you're dying in a team fight, try to figure out why. Especially, look at the replay if you're confused as to what happened. If you trade your life for 2 of theirs, or even just at least 1, then that's fine. But we'll leave that for the next video. So to sum up, I simply wanted to prepare you guys for the next video, because the only way you can know what acceptable deaths are is if you first understand what unacceptable deaths look like. But now that we know that, we can move on to part 2. So I'll see you there.